to get in.
Okay, recording is on. Good evening. Hello, Ma'am Randy.
Hello, y'all.
Hello.
Okay, I have the recording on.
Okay. We have one minute. We don't want anyone to come in a minute late and miss something very important.
Wouldn't want to do that. Okay, this is the 16th, tonight is the 18th.
We're starting on STR, right?
We are.
Yes.
Yes.
How are you feeling, Dave?
Oh, much better. Back to the usual.
Yeah. It came on fast and it disappeared fast here in this house.
Yeah, mine lasted about 3 weeks.
Yeah, it lasted for 3 weeks, but it was just one day I woke up and felt better. It was strange.
Yeah, same.
It ran its course.
Okay, 6:30. Time to go. Everybody ready?
Good to go.
Okay. I will call the meeting to order. Tonight's agenda is all code review, starting off with short-term rentals. We will not be taking public comment at the end, but there will be a public hearing where everyone will have their time to say what they feel about the codes we review. That said, let's see if we can kill these tonight.
Yes.
And celebrate somehow. Zoom celebration.
Okay.
On the, I just had one. Just the one again on the properties at the corners, and I will not. I promise. Have a lengthy conversation on this, but if you read it, can it be read like that? It says only one permit allowed for all properties located at intersections. Can that be like interpreted as in the whole village? Do you know what I mean?
Marie, we made
A
it.
single intersection. Oh, sorry, Fran.
Oh. Okay, I'm now looking at something. Because Marie and I were looking at this today earlier. I guess I'm looking at the wrong section.
Fran, somehow the changes that we made got deleted.
They're in the next section, Marie.
Oh yeah, we want to delete I.
We want to delete I.
So right. What are you replacing it with in the next section?
J.
Location.
Oh,
J.
okay.
Because I thought, sorry. And all the corrections that we left open for discussion are no longer open for discussion. So for corner properties intersections.
Oh, yeah, that works.
That sounds good. Yay.
Yay. Okay, I comes out, J comes in. Delete.
It's weird that
when do we celebrate? Okay, can we celebrate now?
Yes.
Not quite.
Well, at least this part.
Not quite. What else?
Well, it's not quite. Oh, yeah, corner properties. So,
okay.
Go ahead, Fran.
That's all I see here. Go ahead, Marie.
Okay, so the question is when the law is passed. Actually, in the public hearing for the law, I expect that the question that will be raised is when can I have an STR permit? And I had sent you, Dave, a proposed timeline for when STR permits could be given out, which gets us out to about July 1st. I understand that you are thinking that maybe, and what I had said in was that it would be a 6-month permit. And I understand, Dave, that you had a conversation where you wanted to do a longer term permit.
Since it just, I was talking to Jeff today on the time, since there will only be 6 months, that maybe the first permit would be for a 1.5 years, and then we would start, annually and have the date set.
I think that's a really good compromise because it gives.
Sorry, the way the law is written now, it says that in November, new applications will be accepted. So the law has dates in it, tie us into a November, December timeframe.
Marie, in the last, in 100-13 where it says effective date, can we put a paragraph in there that says, for the first year and, these will be the effective dates, and then thereafter, everything follows the law?
What the effective date is the date that the law will be effective.
Right.
The law is effective when we file it with Albany.
Can we put a paragraph in there?
I'd have to
Or-
talk to John about it. I don't think, I don't know. I had posed that to John a while ago, and it didn't seem as if it rose to the top of the heap at the time. So I will go back to John on that, but we have a dilemma in front of us because the law currently states the schedule, the annual schedule. And what we would like to do, one option is to just do a 6-month permit for the year 2021. And then in 2022, applications are accepted starting in November 1st. And then there's a lottery in December. And then inspections and then permits are given. So I think this needs to be discussed with John as to how we can handle that for the first iteration. We can obviously do a 6-month permit.
Or we can close our eyes for the first 6 months and
I was
begin it
just
in
gonna
20.
suggest that.
No,
I know Dave said no, and Marie says no on that.
On what? I didn't say no.
You said no last time I suggested. I was trying again. I said
Oh.
close our
To
eyes
say-
for the first 6 months and have this begin.
So to say that the law goes into effect beginning with the permitting process in the fall of 2021. It's like
No, the
one
law-
more bonus summer.
we don't, once you file the law, it is the
It's the
law.
law. Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So that won't go.
There has to be something we can do for the first year. I would hope. If not, then I guess we're just gonna be behind it again until 2022.
We can, I'm sure we can add, like, for example, application procedure B under 104. B, applications will be accepted from October 1st to 31st. However, for the calendar year 2021,
Mhm.
applications will be accepted from whatever to whatever. We can probably add a
But
sentence at the end of each.
But what you've just said says for the calendar year 2021.
Okay, so it wouldn't be calendar year. However, for the first year this law is in existence.
Look, I think we need to get from John
Guidance.
Okay. Okay, so John's gonna advise us on that.
Right.
And
That's
other
not-
than that,
And is
Number
everyone, well, and if John says there's a way that we can either put an addendum on this or something for the first year, maybe that's possible. Is everyone good with if we do it for a year and a half? I don't want to, it's going to be a lot of work getting the first one in, so we can get it cranking this year for 6 months. So I wouldn't want to do that all over again next month.
Well, and I don't think it's good necessarily. I don't think it looks, it's not very neighborly to ask people to do it again in 6 months. In addition to the work that it puts on Jeff and Charlotte, it's a lot to ask people to do for a 6-month okay.
However, if you think about it, they've already done the work. They've submitted the application, they've gone through the process. So one of the advantages of doing a 6-month is you work out all of the kinks in the process.
Well, that's a good point. That's a
And
fair
there
point,
might be
Marie.
a
And
way-
people who have gone through the process will be ready to reapply again.
Right, they have their application already completed, then they know that their street address has to be they've gone through all of the work that they've had to do.
and we could give them a bit of a break, for the first 6 months. It's an easy rollover for the next year. We've got your application. We'll roll it into the second year. So, I mean, I'm good with whatever John says at this
Okay.
point.
I will follow.
I'm in the minority here, whatever. I'll just say, just for the record, that I think I want to go to a year and a half. And if we don't go to a year and a half and we can do 6 months, then we shouldn't have them have to go through the whole inspection and have Charlotte have to go and do inspections for the same house in 6 months again.
So
Although
maybe
Right.
there's
things
something
can
in between.
change.
I'm
So-
sorry.
so-
Things can change.
Okay, then I think we should do it for a year and a half then. Things can change in 6 months. So if we do it for a year, should we inspect every 6 months?
So if you want to do for a year and a half would be good. That's fine. We just need to change the dates in the law.
Right, and we will note it that it's for the first go
But
round.
that would only be for the first year. And if we can't just do that for the first year, I think that I'm happy with a year and think a year is good for the permit. But since we're in this, as you say, dilemma, I think that we should consider a year and a half if it's possible. And John can tell us there's a way to do that.
So
Either that, or I agree with Fran, we should give people a break, and it shouldn't be everything that's in the law for 6 months,
I agree, Dave.
I'm sorry, I disagree. How about the following? How about we make it for a year, every year annually, starting July 1st?
What does that accomplish other
It
than throwing it
accomplishes-
off?
Everybody gets what they want.
It accomplishes not having to change the law and not having to rewrite the law. Is that,
So what
Um,
shifts, what happens in July that would have happened in the fall? Or your permit period begins July 1?
begins?
No,
yeah.
your permit period begins, yes, July 1st to June 30th.
So you're
Yes, so
applying in the fall for the beginning the following July.
And no, you apply in the spring.
Okay, so we have to change those in the law, how we have it written now.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
application
which-
would-
Which is trivial.
But does
That's
that
not-
that
yeah,
I think
gets
it's a little
you,
trivial.
Huh?
I'm fine with that. I don't care.
Yeah, so that,
But
so
what
then the
happens-
applications will come in,
May 1st to May 31st.
and does our timeline for public hearing make that possible this year?
Yes,
Well, then that seems like an easy answer
yeah,
to accommodate both this season and although I can foresee folks saying, I would want to
Yeah.
know that I have a permit earlier in the season so that I'm not starting out in July, right? Because we're already March, April, May, June, July. We're 5 months into the big season
but the
by
big
then,
season
or
is,
at least 4 months into the big season.
but the big season is fall, and a lot of times it's summer and fall, so if we have applications in May, there's a lot of fall stuff. And once you get past the first year, you've got the application for a whole year. It's just a case of, you're starting a little bit.
Yeah, but
True.
then when that's up and you're not guaranteed the second year and the lottery's there, you're not going to know till the summer.
That's my concern, Dave.
Yeah.
you would know on June 16th whether or not you get an application, get a permit.
I would go that way and maybe see what the public has to say. They're the ones who are running these things. It may make sense or not to them. I know graduation times are big.
Yep.
So West Point graduation, which is usually Memorial Day, would be big. So if you get an application this year, starting July, you've got West Point graduation already locked up for next year, and you can start advertising for that.
So I guess our options is we talk to John and see if we can do the 6 months, and then the applications would be due when, Marie, for
Okay,
this
so-
year?
So if we were to do this year for 6 months, and what I would recommend we do, if we do 6 months, is we, instead of a $250 permit fee, it become $125, because it would only be for 6 months.
Right.
So here's the schedule. From May 1st to May 31st, the village accepts applications. June 1st to June 15th, the village verifies the applications. That actually can start once an application is received, but June 1st to June 15th is application verification. June 16th is the lottery. June 16th to July 1st are the inspections, and then the permits are approved on July 1st. So that would be the schedule for a 6-month initial or for a 1 year starting July 1st.
And then are you suggesting that after that initial period, we would revert to the schedule that is laid out currently, or
If we go for a 6-month, yes. If we go for a 12-month,
yep.
we would change the wording in the law.
I think that getting to a schedule that has the process begin in the fall or at least in the winter makes more sense for letting people, for people to be clear on what their possibilities are for the spring and summer season. So although I don't love giving people a 6-month permit, it's a short period of time that gets us caught up with the way we have structured the law.
Or the other alternative is John may say it's okay to do an 18-month. And then we just have to adjust the dates for the first go round, and then we fall back in line too.
I would prefer to do a longer one if we can, so that people have, it just seems generous given the fact that we're introducing a new law at a strange time.
I agree with Kathleen. I'd go for the longer if we can, and if we can't do that, I would definitely want to start it in the fall so that the year starts in January, so people know where they're at.
Okay,
So
so
you would prefer not to do a 6-month? Is that what I understand, Dave?
I'm not for 6 months, but if everyone's for it and that's the only thing we can do, then fine.
Okay, so I will try to get in touch with John to see what options we might have. That means, so that's one fact, getting in touch with John. The secret, I have a way to do that. So I can put together the secret. The planning board input, I won't get until Saturday, so we can't do the schedule. We can't do a public hearing on March 4th.
Got like 2 iterations prior of the calendar up. I got to get the new.
yeah. Okay, the planning board you'll get on the weekend, Marie.
Yeah,
So the best we can do for a
would
public,
be, yeah, the best we could do for a public hearing is March 11th.
It's not so far off though.
And then my recommendation is that the public hearing be held open for 2 weeks to receive additional comments and input. So if the public hearing is on the 11th, that would be the 25th for closing of the public hearing. And then
I would only be for written
written comments,
after the-
right.
we're gonna have,
Written or email,
Right.
Yeah.
written or
So-
email.
if we're having a public hearing, we will take verbal comments that night.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and we decided on timing for that, 6:30 to 8:30, is that what we said?
Yeah, something like that. Then after we get the comments in, which by this new schedule would be March 25th, the village board then needs to vote on the law, which is typically a week after that. So that would be
April
April 1st. Thank you.
But that coincides, just leaving room around.
Don't worry about that yet. Don't worry about that
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
Then it takes time to file the law with the state. Right now, we're looking at a 2-week schedule for that. We will also probably have to have not a court stenographer, but someone who can transcribe the meeting into words, into a document that we can all look at. And we may have to file that with the state, but that would be about April 15th. It takes anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks for the state to confirm that they have received the a document from the village. So that could be as early as April 29th or early in the month of May. But even with that, I think we can go with a May 1st to May 31st application submission date. So those dates would still hold. Let me give them to you again. May 1st to May 31st, applications are submitted. June 1st to June 15th, verification of applications. June 16th, lottery. June 16th, begin inspections. And then July 1st, the permits are issued.
That is in the absence of John finding a way for us to do
Well, if
18 months.
if John can find a way for us to do that, then we have to come back to our law and rework it to contain whatever John has to say. So that now, so that's the current possible schedule.
Okay, one thing, did we run this by Charlotte, how quickly she can do 38 inspections?
Charlotte has seen this, and the only change she recommended was the change from dwelling to residence.
But was she aware of it? Could she have not realized that she's gonna have to do 38?
I will go back to Charlotte and point that out to her.
Just make sure that
Yeah, that's
she's
going to
the
be
one
tight.
that's gonna
for her,
be,
especially because she's part-time.
Well, that's yeah. I'll confirm with her.
or maybe also if she can't do it, we talk to Michelle and see if we can add some extra time in, like whatever, for a week,
If she has,
for an emergency.
Give her, well, if she can do an additional day or
Right.
half day, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so as it turns out, there's the $25 application fee. So there'll be some revenue generated from the applications. And then there's the permit fee. So there'll be some revenue there. So that may supplement the concern that you just voiced.
Mhm. Okay,
And I'll notify Jeff that we need to change the calendar.
and that we need new resolution,
Yeah,
because he had the resolution for tonight, and we can't do that. So
Correct.
what we do is resolution, Tuesday.
If I
I
can
mean,
get,
maybe,
if I can get feedback from John, yes.
okay.
If I can't, no.
Is there
Okay.
anyone else in the firm who deals with us that could help? Do we have a paralegal who helps on village stuff?
Typically, when I communicate with John, I communicate with him and another person. And I'm just assuming that that other person would forward it to whomever else is in the firm.
I just wondered if, sorry, something's about to fall off the wall and I can't figure out why. I can hear it coming down. I'm just wondering if there's a junior member of staff who can give us some guidance until
I think
John.
that's John's call to decide who he wants to pass it off to.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I think that's John's call to decide who he wants to pass it off to.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm just wondering if it sounds like he's crushed with work from us.
I'll also contact him because I was thinking, not along a paralegal or something, but definitely he needs to. There's information we need from him. If he can't get to it, we got to know that. I mean, we could go to another attorney, if we have to, but we can't let some of these things we're ready to go for now. And so I'll follow up with John also and say, he's apologized on a number of occasions. He's like forgotten that he had stuff and had to go back in the emails to find it for me. So, I mean, he's acting like me,
I was just going to say, it sounds familiar.
I think it sounds like all of us these days are up to our necks.
anyway, so I'll have a conversation with him too. I think if he, make sure he can get things done. If not, just say we're gonna need somebody for a little while. Make some of these answers for us.
Okay,
Not like they're, should take much time, but. Okay, so we're done with SDRs and
well,
Okay,
for the time being,
for now.
fences. Chapter on fences. Okay, so fences, the first thing we discussed last week was that we wanted to remove hedges from this.
Mhm.
So we renamed it fences and walls instead of fences, walls and hedges.
Yep.
Um,
And I went
see,
in and
Kathleen,
made some suggestions for how we can make this work as a separate chapter with cross-reference to 134 and an addition of a section on variances that refers to 134 at the very bottom.
okay, and
did you put that?
I disagreed with that last week. I'll disagree with it again.
Well, I showed it to a land use attorney, so I think we need John to confirm. I mean, it's workable. Shall we go through the language?
Did you
No,
put it
no
in
need.
the old 134 or the new
I
134?
put it in the new 134 as suggestions to show how it could play out and work, the cross-reference.
It's not a question of that, as I said last week. The swimming pools chapter has very specific wording which permits the zoning board to weigh in on variances based upon certain.
I understand, but what you're talking about is almost a taking. If we could actually look at the language I put forward, you might get a sense that it can work.
No, I'm sorry, Kathleen.
Well, maybe the three of us could talk about it then.
I'm definitely for it, and I'm still kind of lost on if we put it back, if we can't have whoever's reading the fence chapter, have a link to go back to it and have the zoning board, they're the ones that would, hear variances or issues, then I just don't know how we can put it,
So
why
here's
it would be in
42
ZBA in the first place.
It's like
Yes.
42.4 variances. Any fencing other than in compliance with the requirements of this chapter shall be subject to the approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals pursuant to section 134-24, which is the powers of the zoning board of the village law. And then if we look at 134 laid out in the powers of the board, of the zoning board, is interpretation and variance for fences.
As I said again, the reason that 114 has that is because there is recognition that for swimming pools, there is the potential for
Right, and that doesn't apply here. That doesn't apply here. So if you look at if we go into
criteria. The
134,
criteria doesn't apply here.
right, so you have to establish the criteria.
Well, that's just it. I think the criteria needs to be the same. I have a call into John on this as well.
But if you,
Okay, so under 124,
I just don't understand is if we put it in back, if it was in 134,
Mhm.
then what's the difference of having it in 134 or in a set alone, which refers back and says that the authority to hear variances is on the zoning board and refer back to that? What's the difference?
that's my point, Dave. I think that what the issue
is,
is right now that the criteria had not been established. And
I'm sorry, the
so
criteria for swimming pools was established.
right, but we had not yet established criteria. I can't find the edits I put in earlier. Did you guys take out the suggestions I put in
Where?
No.
under
Which?
134-24?
No,
No.
they're there. I just looked at them. They're there.
Maybe
No.
I'm in the old. Oh yeah, I'm in the old one. Hang on.
Okay. It's on page 78.
Okay.
And I think that one thing that it was like, and not to be so literal about the swimming pool thing, the swimming pool chapter, obviously they found a way. Now fences, they'll say the wording is not going to be exactly the same, or the reason why
Right,
we bring it
exactly.
back.
It's
but it
establishing.
was allowed. So it was somebody, felt that it was needed to have swimming pools in its own chapter, and they were able to like refer back and give the power to the zoning board to hear variances or whatever the conditions were.
Right,
So-
and the rationale for doing that is that it placed an undue burden on the property owner to be unable to appeal for a variance.
I'm trying
And
to
that
find,
was-
Fran, can you read out, I can't find the additions I put in today. If you read out the criteria, oh, here it is, here it is, here it is. So the issue is that the criteria is defining the criteria. So first spot, if we go to 134.24, is establishing under interpretation upon appeal from a decision by an administrative official to decide any question involving the interpretation of any provision of this chapter, chapter 42, fences and walls, or chapter 114, swimming pool, spas, and hot tubs, including determination of the exact location of any district boundary, et cetera, et cetera. And then under B, variances, to issue variances for any of the requirements of this chapter, comma, chapter 42, fences and walls, or chapter 114, swimming pools, spas, and hot tubs. So that now establishes the mechanism. And then the next portion is to establish the criteria on which the variances are granted. So then we come down, and on number 3 establishes the criteria for fences to vary or adapt the strict application of any of the requirements of chapter 42, fences and walls, in the case of lots, the perimeters of which are subject to a high degree of pedestrian or vehicular traffic, whereby such strict application would deprive the owner of privacy fencing sufficient to preserve reasonable use and enjoyment of the land or building involved. And then the next item establishes the criteria for pools, which is the language that you were pointing to, Marie, about whatever the takings language was that you established that as the criteria for variance from chapter 114. There are 2 different criteria, but to say that you can't do that, the criteria before that is the criteria for steep slopes. So they're different purposes and different criteria for granting the variance, but the zoning board has the power to establish each of these kind of variances based on the criteria defined here. So they don't have to be the same. It's already not the same. Steep slopes isn't the same criteria already.
Kathleen, I'm wondering, as you wrote this, in 3, you're talking about the case of lots, the perimeter of which are subject to a high degree of pedestrian or vehicular traffic.
I was just pulling language. We can have it be whatever you want it to be. I was just trying to determine why someone would want a variance for a fence.
Okay, so
The criteria can be whatever we want it to be for
it's not
variance.
not just the pedestrian or vehicular traffic. It would be backsides, next to your neighbors who you hate, blah blah blah, any of that stuff.
What perimeters of which are subject to a high degree. We can change the language.
Okay,
I was
yeah.
trying to show you that you could craft language around what the criteria would be for the ZBA to determine that a variance was acceptable for fences under that item. Above it establishes the criteria for steep slopes, and below it establishes the criteria for swimming pools, spas, and hot tubs, which is the takings issue Marie was talking about. Does that make sense to people?
Sense to me.
The problem that I have is with chapter 42, Kathleen.
Okay.
Not with all the wording that you've just gone through for
Okay.
134. So my position is we need John to say what we can and cannot do.
And that's fine.
And what
I'll wait for
I don't
John.
understand what your concern exactly is, though. If it's saying that any fencing other than in compliance with the requirements of this chapter shall be subject to the approval of the zoning board of appeals pursuant to section 134-24 of the village law. And in section 134-24, the criteria are established. So what's problematic?
That it
But, I mean,
doesn't, that it doesn't say in chapter 42 what the insertion was in chapter 114.
So why don't we just,
let's
pick it up. Oh, it doesn't need to though, Marie. It's a separate criteria. It doesn't, under that logic, your criteria for steep slope should say what the pools say. under that logic.
That may be true, and maybe we need to go back and change steep
Well,
slope.
but that's not sensible.
Why is it not nonsensical?
Because the
look.
criteria for determining a variance to a steep slope is entirely different from the criteria for establishing a variance for a pool.
Sorry, again, I'm not arguing with what you've put in 134. I don't think it should go in there. My argument is in 42 and the wording that was inserted in pools, that it should be similar. Look, I don't want to spend any more time on this. My vote is to get John's input on this. And that's
I'm
it.
fine with letting John, let's get John
Just
on
a
this.
couple of things. One, there's a hedge, there's a 6-foot fence on the side of my property that had to go for a variance. It had to get a variance, and they were granted a variance, and it had to do some neighborly things, from my understanding, from what Stephanie told me. Another property which I showed you, like in some of my photos that I had sent, was the Amaleka property, which, if we don't take it totally literally, make believe there's no garage or whatever, this person has a yard that they might want to put a fence up. Where are they going? What's their recourse? Who can they go see? If they say, every weekend, I have no privacy, this is a pedestrian, this is a hiker's pathway right by my house. I can't even go outside anymore. It's a heavy traffic area. People are just coming through here all the time. Where do they go? And I would say that they would go to the ZBA and they would get a variance saying that you could put a 6-foot fence there.
Well, another way to think
not for
about
nothing.
this-
Hold
I'm
on.
not arguing that variances shouldn't be allowed.
Then why can't I just don't
think-
understand.
I think, Dave, that part of this is the language Maria's, the language Maria's referring to regarding pools is like a takings. They're
I never said
saying
that. I never said that.
that
No.
I cannot, if I don't have this variance, I cannot install a pool, a spa, or a hot tub. And therefore I cannot enjoy my parcel to the highest and best degree that I would normally. So I need a variance to enjoy my parcel with a body of water to the highest and best degree that I can. A fence isn't an issue like that. A fence is a perimeter. It's not a taking. It's not that you can't enjoy your property to the greatest degree with a fence, right? Is that the issue? Am I understanding correctly, Marie?
It's the wording, Kathleen.
It's,
Well, I'm trying to understand what the problem with the wording is.
let's let John look at it. We're doing, I mean.
Okay, I
Fence you
agree,
have, Dave.
John. I just don't think that, Marie, I really don't think you want to do this. And so you're just putting up a roadblock. That's how I feel. I don't think there's.
No, I think,
Okay,
I don't-
that you can have that feeling. Your feelings are valid.
the variance that your neighbor got, fences was in with 134, and it was under the ZBA. It was no problem. They went for a variance.
Right, so if it's under there now and we refer back to it, what is the difference? That's what I don't understand.
I don't see
It
that.
was there, it was underneath, it was under the ZBA's purview at one time. It still is. Right now, if you want a variance or whatever you need for a fence, it's in the ZBA, it's in 134. You can go
Agreed.
for a variance.
Agreed.
Oh,
I totally agree.
So now we just broke it out. It's over here. It's the same exact wording that if we put it back into 134, except it's not there. We're just referring to it. So what is the difference?
Okay, again, my position is I want John's counsel on this.
Okay.
Wants John's counsel to know that the language that exists for pools, which reads like a takings, is also.
I've never said that.
I know
and
you
it's-
haven't, but that's what
and-
it amounts to.
So
That's-
the language that's in pools up until a year ago, when John reviewed pools, he recommended that it be changed from VBOT to zoning board. That was the one change that John recommended. He also recommended a reference to 134 VII and an insertion in 134. So if John says that's not necessary for fences, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay, we got through that. The other thing on this just had to do with the wording in the definition of side yard, back up on page 1 and 2. Okay, that's a side yard, an open unoccupied space on the same lot as a building situated between the building and the side lot line and extending from the front yard to the rear. Any lot line, not a rear lot line or a front lot line, shall be deemed a side lot line. Are we okay with that change?
Any
Instead
lot
of saying a side line of the lot, a side lot line?
Sure.
I find it really, I think that it should stop right after between the building and the side lot line. I think adding the extending from the front yard to the rear yard just complicates everything. And if we're gonna put a picture of what we,
Oh, Dave, I tried endlessly today to get your pictures in here. I have to try doing something else. That you created them in a Word document. I created them in a PDF. I created them in a JPEG. I can't seem to load them into this. So I'm gonna try scanning them and getting them in. But I'm not quite sure how to get those pictures in. I'll copy and paste.
Were you doing insert image
I
under the,
was, yep.
how strange.
It kept telling me it was,
An invalid.
right, an invalid
Try,
something.
when you scan it, try saving it to your own photos folder and then uploading it from your own photos
I
folder.
will, yeah.
I mean, you can just save it to anywhere as a JPEG.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they pull
As a
from,
JPEG.
sometimes it
No,
helps.
it tells you where to go, and I saved it as a JPEG and I saved it as a PDF. I tried copying and pasting, because you created it, Dave, in a Word document, right? And you created it by making text boxes. And I copied each one of them and they wouldn't, it just kept telling me it wasn't a good image, but I will continue to try to do that, figure out some way to get that. If anybody can figure out or knows a way to get
Do you use a Mac or a PC?
PC.
I don't know how to do a screenshot on a PC, but if you could take a screenshot of Dave's document, the portion that you want included in the image,
Mhm.
take a screenshot and save that as a JPEG. And that way
Alright.
you're not having to take it apart.
I will.
I
give
can
that a
make it,
shot.
if you want, I can do it on my Mac and send you the JPEG.
You can do that. Give it a shot.
Okay.
Or you can
Worth
try
trying.
loading it up. Okay, back to this definition. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rant off, but I spent an hour trying to figure out
Yeah,
how to
that's
get those pictures in here. And by the way, whoever sent the pictures of the corner lot, was
Yep.
it Kathleen or was it Dave?
It was me.
Could you send that again? Because I couldn't find
Yep.
it. Sorry. Okay.
No problem.
Okay, definition. Are we leaving this? Are we cutting it? An open unoccupied space in the same lot as the building, situated between the building and the side lot line and extending from the front yard to the rear yard. Are we cutting it? Are we leaving this as is?
What was the logic for adding that last line?
It was there.
Yes,
The last line was there. We just changed the wording from rear line to rear lot line.
Oh,
and
to rear
front
lot line.
Yeah,
front-
rear line and front line are not defined.
Got
and
it.
And sideline is not defined. So what we tried to do is capture what has been defined
Got it.
in the definition.
Perfect.
And the line, we didn't add anything there. Do we need to take something out? Dave, do you want something taken out?
I just thought that, it's the space between the building and the side lot line. I think that's.
But it's not necessarily between the building and the side lot line. It extends past the building. My side yard goes into my backyard. And so it's not just between the building. It's my whole backyard on both
For
sides.
but for this chapter, the side, that's how we're determining what the side yard is.
Yeah, Dave's point is that the side yard begins after the front yard and ends before the rear yard, correct, Dave?
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
And so the side lot line is, the side lot line, in one way to look at it, the side yard is smaller than the side lot
Oh,
line.
gotcha. Okay, I got you. I'm looking at your picture and that makes sense. Okay, so,
So a side yard is an open, situated between the building. Okay, so if we deleted from the side lot line, from there forward, that would match Dave's drawing, correct?
Is that what, we're deleting that?
Yeah. Now,
So,
just one thing, Fran.
Yes.
Just,
What I'd like to put eventually is see picture, something to that effect, once I get the pictures in. I have the pictures sitting here, I just can't get them, figure out how to get them in.
I'm trying to
just-
find the thing that Dave sent round because I might be able to do it for you right now if I can find it. Dave, do you
Okay, so-
remember?
so height of fences, if you go down to G2, within the side yards, from the front property line to the rear of the building, not to exceed 4 feet. As it turns out, that conflicts with the side yard.
Yeah, it's not from the front property line, it's from the front of the building.
Correct. No, it's from the front yard to the rear yard.
Right,
It's not from it's not from the building. It's from the front yard to the rear yard. Now this begins to change things.
so I think we just have to, in number 2 of G, just put within the side yard.
Well, that's what it says, within the side yard, comma, from the front
right,
front yard line.
we can can we just eliminate that within the side yards?
Within the
take
side
that
yard.
out.
Yes, you can. Yes.
Okay, that's out.
Okay, now,
The same in the number 3.
well, no, because you're doing.
No, okay,
You're doing two different, within the side yard, from the rear of the building to the side yard ends, the side yard ends at the beginning of the rear yard.
We just have to change that. Number 3 should be rear, yeah, it should be rear yard.
Right, within the
We
side
don't
yard,
need within number
From-
3.
but that could change where it can go to 6 feet. Right?
well, if we look at the picture,
Yeah,
Let me see
the
if I
picture
can-
would say that the side yard goes from the front yard to the back, from the
Right.
front yard line to the back yard line. 3 says from the rear of the building to the rear of the property line, which is not the case.
yeah, because that's not a side yard according to the picture, it's back, that's a rear
Right.
yard.
Can you share your screens, Fran, so we can see the picture? I can't
Um,
find it in my email
all
right
right.
now.
Let me just,
We can get rid of 3 totally and just have the front, side, and rear yards, because that's how the blocks are shown.
Well, within the rear yard, but that changes where you can go from 4 to 6 feet, Dave. If you delete
that help?
3, if you delete 3,
Yes, thank you.
then what happens is that you can only go to 6 feet within the rear yard, not from the rear of the building.
I'm sorry, I have to flip to, because I don't.
Go ahead. This
That's-
helps.
That's okay. Okay,
Do you
You
see
know
the
what?
problem,
Give me
Dave?
1 second to screenshot it so I can have it on my screen.
Do you see the problem, Dave, with that?
No, if we have the 4 foot if we have the side yard that you can only have 4 feet, not to exceed 4 feet, then we got the front and the side yards taken care of.
Right.
Then we all we have to deal with is the rear yard.
Yeah, but if the rear of the building is not yet in the rear yard, that it's in the side yard, then you don't get to go to 6 feet until you get to the rear yard.
There you go, Fran.
See what I'm saying?
The rear yard, you start the 6 foot starts at the rear of the building.
But yes, but the rear of the building is not necessarily coincident with the rear yard.
according to the drawing, it is. The rear of the main
The end of the
structure.
building. So, no, but no, that doesn't necessarily
The
work.
definition for a rear yard is an open unoccupied space on the same lot of the building between the building and the rear lot line and extending the full width of the lot.
Let me go back up to that.
Fran, I put the image in the document.
Between the building
Okay.
and
Oh,
the
thank you.
side, and no, the rear, and open, it's between the building and the rear lot line. Oh, okay. Okay. I
There's
see.
another picture, Kathleen, too. Did you, since you're being nice and putting up pictures?
You
There is
share it
another.
on, if you share your screen, I
will.
can screenshot it off.
Mhm.
So we can delete 3.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be this one here. I don't know if
Okay.
you can pick the picture without,
If,
wait, let me fix the screen because
Yeah.
excuse me. Give me 1 second
Yeah,
to
take your
do
time.
this.
if we can get this done and not have you spend an hour on it, that'd be awesome.
That works for me. Let me just get rid of all this junk up here. Okay, that's what I want to get rid of, that stuff. I will share this. That's the other one. Okay. That one is a corner lot.
Okay.
And I may have to make it a little bit better, but what are you doing, screenshotting?
Yep.
Okay. So this one's a corner lot. Let me just create it a little bit better.
Oh, I just about
Sorry.
had it.
Sorry, hang on for 1
okay.
second. I need to
That was fine. That worked.
I just want to get the street on the bottom.
Oh, I could see it.
Okay.
So you want, in the end, you actually want 2 images here?
Yes,
Okay.
one's for a corner lot.
Okay. We may have to play with putting them side by side, but I think I know how to do that.
I
We
know,
don't
I
need
think
to
I'll.
wait time in that tonight. Okay. So if you
Wrong one, that's the wrong one. Let me find what I had. I'm sorry,
okay,
everyone.
it's okay, take your time.
Where the heck did it go? There it is. I need number 2. That's the one I need.
It's kind of crazy that you can do this in your office and I can receive it in mine and put it into the document. That's wild.
Try that one. That's the corner lot.
Can you make the screen slightly bigger? Can you increase the size of the screen up in the upper right?
No, it just makes it smaller.
Yeah, perfect. Hold it there.
Okay, you got it.
Hold it.
Smile, say cheese.
It's ready for its close-up, Mr. DeMille. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Okay, back to business.
All right, now let me play with getting it into the document. Fran,
So,
go ahead. Go ahead, Marie.
So Fran, could you delete G3?
Sure. This one within the side yards, that comes out?
Yep.
That works.
And
Okay,
then
the other,
could you also please delete, add pictures here so I can put the new image in next to it? Okay, now I should be able to go in and put it in.
okay. Okay. All right, so height of fences. There was going to be another picture. Maybe this is the right picture. The corner lot one? No, that's,
Hang on, I just gotta make it smaller so it fits.
We also got to go back up to the definitions side yard.
Okay, this isn't perfect right now, but we can play with it.
right, okay. Okay, take out that end of the side yard. Do we want to take that out?
I think we can.
I think we decided to take it out.
Which one was this?
Let me put it back to show you. Definition of side yard. The last line we took out,
Oh,
you said
yes,
to
yeah,
take out. from-
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that takes care of that.
And Fran, if you accept that image, then the yellow and the green will go away. And it's not perfectly lined up, but we can play with it.
I accepted it.
I don't know why the yellow is still there.
Let me
Okay,
see.
well, it's in. We'll play with it.
Okay.
I think that these need to have a name,
They do.
and
And,
they need to be referenced from the document.
yeah, so we need to, picture A and picture B or something like that.
Well, I think what you need to do is to identify why you're showing two different,
Okay, yeah, this is a fence. This one on the right is fencing, for a corner lot.
But you're gonna need to add it, start from the left so that you can have,
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I know, but my mind
Sorry.
was on this one.
sorry. We're all talking to you at
Okay.
once.
That's okay. I'm gonna put, that's not a great definitions, but it starts.
Yeah.
The first one's just fence heights.
so in looking at rear yard, the one on the right,
Mhm.
it says up to 6-foot fence permitted in green bordered area. It isn't, because your right-hand side is the sidewalk utility strip curb. That portion is a 4-foot.
And that's in blue.
Oh, he's got a blue, yeah, you got a blue.
I'll tell you, that's very subtle.
Okay, we'll change that color then.
I'll make it a thicker border, make it a much thicker border.
Yes, and it would help if underneath fence heights, you identified the green bordered area is 6 foot, the
Oh,
blue
that's good.
fence,
Like a code to the colors.
yeah.
I like
For
it.
people who are colorblind, it's helpful.
We are an inclusive code.
6.
But I have that written in the boxes. That's not enough.
Well, the
It's
problem
tiny.
is it's tiny, and the blue and the green, if I'm colorblind, doesn't work for me.
And so if you write it another time, you won't be colorblind.
Yeah, that's true. It still says the same thing. I'd like to go back here and refer.
We could make
That's
that
what I do.
red. We could do it red, something that's obvious then if you can't see that. I can
Don't
see
get
that.
No, I
crazy,
think
Dave.
it's, all right.
What's that?
Don't get crazy. Red. What are you talking about?
It's angry.
Okay, we did our artistic things for the night. I'm not at all artistic. That's the extent of me.
We can,
All right.
yeah, we can make it finer.
We can, yeah.
But at least
can deal
now
with that.
at least now we understand. We've got the visuals in the same spot.
There was another picture that should go up here.
Oh,
we
this,
just
yeah,
see-
I've got to find that, the
Yeah.
triangle. Let me find it.
Right, the triangle one, okay. Other than that, within the rear yard, if the rear yard is along a sidewalk or street, the front yard rules apply, fence posts, okay.
All right, let's see.
Okay. That's good. All right, down below. Other than the discussion we had earlier that we're waiting for John, and the picture that has to go in, this looks pretty much ready
Agreed.
to go. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on,
Want me to put this in real quick?
if you can, be great. Then I have to come up with a new name.
Hang on, it's above this, right?
It goes right where the yellow
yeah,
is,
add
between
picture
F
here.
and G.
Okay, so it's
Right,
gonna,
between F and-
Fran, can you accept
Between
that
F and
change?
G, watch
Get rid
it,
of that.
Fran.
I'm sorry, say it again. I can accept it whenever you're ready.
Accept the deletion, please.
Got it?
Okay, now. And we should look at these printed out to see if the sizing is what you,
Oh, see, that's big. That's nice.
beautiful.
look at that.
Gorgeous.
I know
at that.
exactly what a triangle is.
I understand
A
it.
vision
Very
triangle.
confusing to me. Okay, can we just center it? I guess we can center it. I can
That's,
do
yeah,
that.
that's kind of the best I can
That's
center
good.
it.
What does ISD stand for?
Well, let's go back to the original because maybe
Insertion
this isn't the one
units.
we want. Insufficient site distance. Insufficient site distance.
We can write that.
Okay, so how do I reconcile the 30-foot distance in F with the 15-foot distance in the,
So we can edit this image to make it say what we want. If it should say 30, not 15. This was just a graphic as a placeholder. So if we want it to say 30, I don't have the skill set to do that, but I can get it taken care of where it says use 15, change it to use 30.
yeah.
Okay.
And I think ISD should be spelled
Written out.
out. Yeah.
I can get that done.
Okay.
So update site triangle diagram
we just have
to 30
image
feet
options.
and write out insufficient site distance. Okay, that'll be on my list for tomorrow.
I'm just putting a note here, Kathleen, just so that we're
Yeah.
all in the same place.
And can Kathleen she can edit too, no? Or can she just do this so you don't
Yeah,
have?
no, you can, yeah, you can do your suggestions and stuff.
Okay.
What do you want me to be doing?
If you want, you can just do it, edit it with, you don't have to send it to Fran. If you come up with whatever you
No,
come
no.
Yeah,
she
I can
doesn't
just
have to
drop it
know.
in.
I'm just putting a note.
Understood. A note would be good.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yes, I can go in and put it in
Yeah.
after I have it done.
Yeah, no, you can do it right in there, as long as when next time we look at it, it's there, we're good. And that takes care of fences for the time being. Are we done yet? Party time yet?
Just, yeah, we just need to, I can't figure out why this is showing yellow, but we'll figure that out too.
Yeah, that's all right, yeah. Okay. Buildings, chapter
Are we done with
40,
fences?
building construction.
Otherwise, okay,
Until
Yeah.
that picture and John's comments, the rest of it is done.
okay. I just need to get the right one open now. Buildings is 40, right?
Right.
It's been a while since we looked at this one. I don't
I
remember
know.
where we,
I
how
have
far we
to-
got to like page 8 or something, or did we get further?
Let me see, the first comment that I
This one is one by
see is,
Heidi on page 5
Okay,
okay,
or 5, my page 5.
building construction seems essential, not sure about the use of or.
She's right. Yes.
Okay, so building construction and fire prevention?
Yes, because, well, no. So
Take out fire,
let me think about this for a minute. The code enforcement officer is responsible for the building construction. It is not uncommon to have a fire inspection person, and I can't remember what the title of that is. The way that the model code reads, it's or. Our code enforcement officer currently has both, but not necessarily all code enforcement officers will have fire prevention.
so we don't want it to say or, because that means we can hire somebody with fire prevention without building construction. And that's not what we're
Well,
saying.
we wouldn't hire somebody with fire prevention and and consider them to be the code enforcement officer. The code enforcement officer must have background experience related to building construction. The question is whether or not we want to delete fire prevention.
Okay, code enforcement officer shall be appointed by the resolution of the Board of Trustees. Code enforcement officers shall possess background experience related to building construction.
I think that if you're a code enforcement, I think you have to have fire prevention.
You think?
I think,
How did we do in the past? We had a code enforcement officer and an assistant who was the fire person.
Actually,
Right.
we had a separate fire person. Let me check with
That's what I-
Charlotte on that.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Ralph used to be the number 2.
yeah, I know you can be a fire, you can do fire inspections without being a building.
Right.
But I think if you're a code enforcement officer, I think that that's part of your training or whatever. You have to have both, but
Let me
check it out.
let me check with that
Yep.
on that.
Okay. So this comes out for the time being. Okay, so you're gonna check that with Charlotte.
Yep.
Uh,
Will do.
Moving down, awkward phrasing. Okay, I could see, this section to me was sort of weird because in 40-4, every subsection seems to sort of have a title. You know, like every paragraph is like a title, exemption not deemed authorization to perform, and then we talk about it. Applications for a building permit shall be made in writing. D does not have it, but the others tend to have headings to each paragraph. Like B says exemptions and then tells you about it. A says building permits required and then tells you about it. So when you get to C, the title is exemption not deemed authorization to perform non-compliant work, and then it talks about that. And that it is awkward. I don't know if we want to just take those out.
This is from the model code
Right.
developed by the state.
And E says construction document and then talks about that.
What does
This
not
is-
deemed authorization mean? Exemption.
It's an
not
awkward
deemed
phrasing.
Authorization.
Let me ask Charlotte about that as well.
Maybe authorization isn't the word. Exemption not deemed authorized. I don't know.
If you get an exemption, you shouldn't perceive that as an authorization to perform non-compliant
Exemption from
work.
the requirement to obtain a building permit for any category shall not be deemed, well, it explains it as you read on. Authorization for work to be performed in violation of the code. So if you get an exemption from the requirement to obtain a building permit, that doesn't give you authorization to perform work that's in violation of the code. So is this another Charlotte question, Marie?
Yeah, I've got that down. Right.
Okay.
I bet it's the word authorization, how it doesn't work in that sentence, because, you know, it's like the third line, that works deemed in authorization, but first one doesn't.
It's exemption not deemed
Is it-
approval.
I'll check it.
Okay,
Okay.
moving on. Okay, so this, I thought I
Fran, you're
answered on, I think
responsible.
I'm right.
I agree with you. There are certain trades that are not do not require licenses, but there are other trades that do.
Where are we talking?
Six.
I'm sorry,
Six.
6.
we're on page
Six.
7.
The
It
list of-
is
The list,
D6.
left paren, 6, right paren.
Right,
The
okay.
list of contractors, Putnam County license number for each, blah, 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 blah. So can people use contractors from other counties? Sure, as long as they have a Putnam County license
Right, they have to be licensed in the county to
Yeah.
work here.
in Putnam County. Yeah,
So we're okay with that?
yeah.
Okay, that just goes. See, I knew I answered to one of these things.
You did good.
Gee, thanks. Okay, I don't know what I did here. This is like all over the place. It looks like I messed things up. A notarized affidavit, it was supposed to be asked for Charlotte. I marked it resolved and then reopened it, and I'm not even sure. Oh, I think I know what I did. I marked it resolved accidentally, so reopened it. But this is a question for Charlotte too.
Okay.
Notarized affidavit must
Oh,
be
that's the
submitted with the
conversation
final.
we had last time.
Certifying that the final
This was
construction.
the Market Street,
Right.
this is the Market Street property?
Mhm.
Okay, this
So that's
is,
also a Charlotte.
well, this is something that we've inserted. This did not come from the state.
Certifying that the final construction, oh, okay, I remember this, are an exact match to those which received board approvals that resulted from
Yeah,
referrals. It'd
I'll
be
talk
good
to, I'll
okay.
talk to Charlotte about it.
Okay, and my resolved and reopened was because I accidentally resolved it.
Shame on you.
I know, right? I was getting so excited to resolve everything. Basically, I'll go in before a meeting and resolve like the spelling stuff and the capitalization stuff. All right. Okay, stop work orders. 46A2, Kathleen's question. There was talk at one point of Cold Spring police officers being deputized to stop dangerous, unsafe work or other obvious violation. If the building inspectors, code enforcement officer are not on duty in the village, that prospect went away when we were covered by the town, but now we're back. Do we need to revisit that option? Any work that's being conducted in a dangerous, unsafe manner, without regard to whether such work is or is not work for the building for which you're building, and without regard to where a building permit is not been issued for work. Okay, let me go back and look at what the heck we're reading here. Authority to issue. The code enforcement officer is authorized to issue stop work orders. Okay. So when we had the problem on.
This
ahead,
is
Marie.
correct as is. The question that Kathleen is raising has nothing to do with building construction. It's whether or not the police can issue a stop work order in a dangerous situation. And in fact, in 2931, the police did stop the work.
Right, I
Oh,
was gonna
on
say, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, does that have to be written any place in here or just,
In my opinion, it's not a question of building construction. It's a question of what the police are authorized to do or not do. And it may be building construction, it may be something totally different.
so it's a question of danger to the,
Well,
to,
it was a question of danger, but also in the days when we had, previous to Charlotte, when we had a part-time building inspector, there was talk about any number of things that, like someone replacing a roof on a day that they knew the building inspector wasn't here to shut them down. That happened on a number of occasions. Then actually coming back to that property at High Street, Fran, at High and Main,
Mhm.
That work would get planned on days the building inspector wasn't there so that it could be done in a day and got over with. And at the time, the question was raised among the boards and brought forward to the trustees. And I don't know, I think we never dealt with it because then we went to the town, was to
But we all-
say, on the days when there is not the building inspector, any code violation reported could be addressed by police with a stop work order, not just dangerous.
That's different.
Yeah, I know it is different. That's why I'm raising the question, because I know it had been talked about before.
Okay,
And I
but
believe,
it doesn't have anything to do with two.
Any work, well, yes, this is specifically dangerous or unsafe. You're right. I'm sorry.
okay, and I believe, going back to your question, Kathleen, one of my neighbors across the street was having a roof done 6 months ago, or maybe a year ago. And the next thing I know, there were 3 police cars and all kinds of stuff going on. I believe the people who were doing the work had no permit. And so they did shut them down. And I forget exactly, I think we had to get Greg. I think Greg came over, but the police did shut it down because of that. So I don't know if they called Greg in or how that worked.
On a day that Charlotte wasn't there, you mean?
Well, it was pre-Charlotte.
Oh,
It was
pre-Charlotte.
Greg.
Well, I
No,
guess
Greg-
it's a process question for Charlotte is what, now that we are back to you as the part-time inspector, what happens on the days, whether it's unsafe or just a code violation observed, what happens in your absence?
Well, there are two things, right? One is
Yeah.
danger.
Danger is not an issue. I think the police just walk in and shut it down.
But not
Um,
having a permit is a different issue, which is, as Marie said, is not what the question
Right.
is here in two. But I guess I'm then following that through, I'm asking where does this second scenario that Fran just raised get addressed?
Yeah, I'll check that out with Charlotte.
Or is it not in number 1?
I'm sorry.
Any work that is determined but to be contrary to an applicable provision of the Uniform Code, the Energy Code, Chapter 52, blah, 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 without regard to whether such work is or is not work for which a building permit is required, and without regard to whether a building permit has or has not been issued for such work. So maybe it's addressed in 1.
But that's saying the
But-
code enforcement officer will
Right, but
issue the stop work order.
Your point is when the code enforcement
Right, right,
officer is
right.
not in the village, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think that issue comes up with the HDRB too, like if someone's putting up siding or windows in and somebody's come down, like, a person, I know of certain instances where it was pointed out by a member of the HDRB, but the building inspector wasn't around. So,
Right.
it's also something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what, I mean, does that authority pass down to who?
that's what
Okay.
I
And
have
then-
to find out from Charlotte.
Right. Okay, we can move on.
Next section, I think these are relatively simple. I just didn't clear them up. B, we're changing certified mail to US Postal Service. We're okay with all of that.
Where are we? Let me catch up.
We're in content of stop work orders.
Page 10.
I'm sorry, page 10.
What made you shift away from certified? Just curious.
I think John said it wasn't necessary.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's possible that Charlotte said that it wasn't necessary.
Okay. Someone said it. Someone in
Yeah.
authority said it wasn't
Yeah.
So
necessary.
my question is, the way the mail is going lately, you could put something in the mail in Cold Spring and it could be delivered in Cold Spring in 2 months. So do we want
Yeah.
to? So then we're at a point where the person never got the mail.
Yep.
So how do we?
I-
I mean, how,
I don't know what you can do with the code if the United States Postal Service is not delivering mail on.
I know.
Well, at least with certified
expected.
mail, they're required to get a receipt.
Yeah, but if the mail doesn't get to Cold Spring,
Exactly. But at
Okay.
least with certified mail, you'd know eventually if it got there or not, or if it never arrived.
oh, so,
hopefully the Postal Service fixes the mess they're in.
so
Fine,
if,
that's-
so on certified mail, you don't know whether or not it arrived. If they
Right. You know
don't
that it has been acknowledged. Sorry.
Right, that, so you've got a semi certification.
You're more likely to get a receipt and confirmation that something has been delivered.
All right, I'm gonna leave the change since Charlotte
Yeah,
recommended it.
Charlotte felt that was appropriate.
And we'll see if we get complaints, then we may have to change it. Next part of that sentence, the code enforcement officer shall be permitted but not required to cause a stop work order or copy thereof to be served on any, taking out all of these lists of people, any person.
Yes. Yeah,
Is that fine with everybody?
Mhm.
Instead of naming them all? Okay. And again, we're
Okay, so-
taking out certified mail and US Postal Service. Okay. Okay. Can we make reference to where these classes and subclassifications, Kathleen Marie answered that they're in reference in 40-1 New York State Building Code. So we okay?
Well, I was saying, can we add it to the text? So people know
It's-
what subclassification we're
yeah.
referring to.
typically in the certificate of occupancy, which is issued by the code enforcement officer, it will state what the classification is.
Okay, but until you get one of those, you're not going to know what subclassification,
Okay.
class or
Which I prefer
subclassification means.
from
So
one
can we
use of
just after the
occupancy.
word another, put in parentheses, New York State Building Code 40-1?
No, 40-1 is our 40-1. It's in this chapter.
Oh, reference in 40-1 above. Okay,
Right.
got it.
Yes,
So it's already in the chapter, so we're okay?
Understood now. Yep.
Okay. Back down to, we did that. Okay. Moving down.
I'm sorry, you're gonna reject
I'm
this,
sorry,
Fran?
yeah, I took out the wrong thing. Okay, I keep doing that. Okay, that's gonna be done.
Okay,
All right, where are we? Why would it matter to note that a sprinkler was not required and the property owner simply opted to install it? Okay, contents of certificates of occupancy, a C of O, shall contain the following information. And number 8 says if an automatic sprinkler system is provided, a notation as to whether the sprinkler system is required.
again,
I know,
this is part of the model code. Yeah.
Okay,
okay. I guess if it's there, somebody's going to assume it's required when probably doesn't. Okay, okay, we're taking out he and she and make it the officer. Everybody okay with that?
Need to,
E, 40-7E,
I would prefer rather these other.
and if the relevant deficiencies are not corrected to the
Yeah,
satisfaction.
okay, yeah.
that just seems to be consistent with what you've been doing in other chapters.
Okay.
Well, okay, Fran,
I know.
above Fran, the 6 months, for whatever reason, it's highlighted in red. In D,
Okay.
great.
All right, let's see. Demolition of a structure, principal building, no person shall demolish the principal building or accessory building or any portion thereof without a valid building permit issued by the code enforcement officer. Kathleen's adding, there should be a cross-reference to chapter 64 for structures within the HDR historic district. Permits can't be issued until the review happens. My response on that was basically the code enforcement officer is supposed to know that and should not be issuing a permit for a demolition without that. So to write that to me, like, just seems to like, I mean, it's the code enforcement officer's job to know that.
Well, but we do that in the fence chapter. The fence chapter says within the bounds of the district, you need to comply with chapter 64. So why wouldn't we do it in the building chapter?
It's not because, it's because we're telling the code enforcement officer what they have to do before they issue a permit, and they're supposed to know that.
But
Oh.
also this is also being read by the public. So I don't see why you wouldn't, it's not a detriment.
It's not a detriment, it's just a, and I'm not gonna be that strong on it, but in my mind, it says you need to get a permit, building permit. If somebody told me I needed to get a building permit, my first question would be, how do I get one? What do I need? What has
So
to
why
happen?
do we have it in fences? Why do we have a cross-reference in fences then?
Well, we might not have a cross-reference in fences.
We do,
Mhm.
Oh, to the fact that there are requirements.
within the district, yes.
Right, right. So what the way I read this is a person who is applying for a building permit for demolition of a building, that building permit would be referred by the CEO to the HDRB without the person submitting the building permit needing to be involved in that at all. The HDRB will then tell the person that we're going to investigate this, and then the HDRB will approve or disapprove. That should go back to the building inspector, the code enforcement officer, who will then approve or disapprove the building permit.
So where are you seeing that it says that it will be referred to the HDRB?
I don't think it really has to, because it's in general. You can't demolish anything, whether it's HDRB or anywhere, any time, any place. So that would, HDRB is included in that, or the historic districts included in a person shall not demolish any building or accessory building or portion thereof.
Okay, all right.
Where am I here? Okay, so we're taking out the insert.
What's in green there? Oh, I see it in green. I don't know what color you see it in.
Blue.
I saw it in purple actually, but that's okay. Okay, this is the future intended use. The intent of this article is to provide for orderly process of demolition of any principal building or accessory building and to assure proper review of safety considerations as well as compliance with the building and zoning laws regarding future intended use of the property. Dave said that, why are we controlling future use? Marie's okay with taking it out. I'm okay with taking it out. And Kathleen says, in a historic district, the remediation plan has to be presented as part of the demolition request. So we can reference that.
Well,
And the other thing I was thinking about with this is that, you know, you want to be careful of the unintended consequence of not having a plan, because you don't want to end up with empty lots. Someone demolishes a building and they have no plan to put it back. You end up with a missing tooth on a block, whether it's in
Yeah,
the
but
district
that's,
or not. I don't think you want to be allowing people to demolish buildings without a plan to reuse the site.
yeah, but that's their prerogative. If it's their property and their building's collapsing and they want to demolish it, maybe they don't have the money to build another one. So right now they're just going to put a farm there or something. Or
So
just
do
leave it empty.
you believe that in this portion under intent, this would be building and zoning laws, completion. This intends to provide for the orderly process of demolition of any principal building or accessory building, and to assure proper review of safety considerations as well as compliance with the building and zoning laws regarding, okay. So my thinking here is, and you can tell me if you think I'm overthinking it, is that we should be clear that when you're in the district, you do have to have.
Right. I
Plan.
mean, I wouldn't mind putting another sentence here, ending after considerations and putting another sentence saying for properties in the historic district, please refer to 6417E5.
E5. Yeah, okay, that's
And
great.
just leave it at that. Is that okay with
That's
everyone?
fine.
How about everyone else? Let me write and see what it says.
You can just cut it and paste it. Or, yeah.
TI for proper TIES.
You want it to be the last sentence, right?
Yes, I'm gonna take the other one out.
Okay. Well, I don't think you need to get rid of that sentence.
yeah,
Refer to,
chapter 64.
Dash 17E5.
is there
So
anything in
what does,
parentheses?
like, just having what a future, you know, the intention is of a property owner, that's not a guarantee. It doesn't do, in my mind, like thinking that doesn't restrict you, or I guess I'm hung up on intended use, you know, someone can say, well, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. That's all you need.
That's true. In the district, it's more than intention, right? You have to, if you read 6417, there's a whole series of documentation you have to provide, not just I intend to one day do this thing. You have to actually demonstrate how you're going to do it to replace the demolished structure. But you're right, intent, simply saying intent.
You need a building permit, or, I mean, if you're going to that step, it seems like you know, if you're asking them not what your intention is, but you actually have to have a plan and whatever, right? Isn't that a building permit?
That you can't get the demolition permit until you demonstrate what the replacement plan is in the district.
And so
that again gets back to avoiding, for example, avoiding an empty lot at 126.
And why is that the purview of the historic district, for if someone has an empty lot?
That's how the model code reads, that you want to maintain the character of the district and not lose the fabric and not have infill in a district.
So they can't get permission
They can't get permission to demolish until they show how the property is going to be reused.
I mean, in general, we're gonna take it out, but for historic district stuff, we're gonna refer them back to the historic district. Are we good? Not good?
I won't dwell on it now.
Okay,
I
it stays.
I don't agree with that, but
Well, I mean, that's how New York State preservation law works.
well, good for New York State. A lot of things New York State does that I don't
That's how it
agree
works.
with.
It's kind of how it works everywhere, even outside of New York.
Okay, but that, something,
So
Similar
3,
to
I
what-
think we agree it can be deleted.
okay. So this comes out because it's similar to 1 and 2 above. Okay. So this comes out.
Yep.
All right. I'm not sure why this is needed. That comes out. And the rodents came back. Okay. Okay, so the insurance we're gonna raise to 2 million
I think we
without
should.
a problem.
Sure.
That works for me. Uh, Whoops, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted.
$2 million.
Sure, sounds like a plan to me. Okay. Okay. Dave, we're on page 13, number 11 in section 40-10. Application for demolition. Suddenly, the village board of trustees shall approve, deny, or approve with conditions the requested permit for demolition within 62 days. So Dave's question is, we're jumping all over the place. From the code enforcer to the village board, getting involved shouldn't be stated somewhere that unless deemed an immediate safety hazard, the village board of trustees has the sole authority to approve or deny the demo of a structure.
Isn't that what this is saying? The village board has the sole authority to approve or deny?
What's that? Sorry.
Isn't that what this is saying? The village board has the authority to approve or deny any requested permit for demolition?
I don't think that you want a board of
I don't want to
trustees.
be making that decision.
Yeah,
is
I don't
my-
think you
my
want
point.
an elected board that doesn't have review or enforcement powers under the code to be the final authority on demolitions in the village. So, because the logic that I have in that is right now we have confidence in the configuration of the board, but that may not always be the case. I think you want to make sure that those decisions stay with the standing boards that have enforcement powers under, have approval powers under the code, and the enforcement stays with the building inspector.
Yeah, I don't,
Put his
I-
enforcement aside for the moment. Who would you think should have the authority to approve or deny?
Well, so in a big chunk of the village, it's in the historic district, and outside of the historic district, why not the planning board?
That's a new responsibility for them.
I don't think that's their, I mean, first of all, what kind of criteria do you need to authorize somebody to tear a building down? I wouldn't even know where to begin. You know, people could give me a whole bunch of data. You know, I don't feel it's in the board's purview. I think maybe in the code enforcement officer, is that his or her purview to be able to figure this out? I mean, it's got to be based on what?
It's got to be based on criteria. I mean,
Right. I mean,
what currently is this how it reads currently, or is this
No,
based on the model
there-
code?
sorry, yes, this is how it reads in the current model code, in the model code.
In the
This is
model?
This is not how chapter 40 currently reads.
And how does chapter 40 currently handle it? I'm sorry that I don't remember.
What chapter 40 says right now is the village can hire a code enforcement officer, period.
Oh, all right, so that's not so helpful.
And so we wrote a new one. I would leave
But
this
you-
in, but it would have to be, I guess it would have to be based on some kind of criteria. Okay, it
could
does
you-
list it, yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
it lists the criteria.
Right.
Could you take a version of the criteria that's 64.7, which ties into, I know, hang on, Marie, which ties in.
Oh my
There
God,
may
oh
be
my God.
section, there may be rather than trying to make it up out of whole cloth, there may be sections of that you can apply here so that you're
But we have criteria here. A, B, C, D, and E.
operating
okay.
permits. What are
The criteria for why we would approve.
Why you would
not
approve a demolition.
Demolition, yeah. And I guess as I'm reading through that, that works fine for me. Uh,
I'm sorry, I got distracted by Fran saying she didn't see any criteria. Fran,
Sorry, my fault. Oh, please, it's been a very long day.
and Marie, if you could do that every time somebody takes you down a path you don't want to go, that would be awesome.
All right. Okay, so the criteria is listed, whether the demolition subsequent plan, if any, is consistent with the comprehensive plan and zoning requirements. The existing condition of the structure and engineering report, okay. Relationship of the structure to the character of the neighborhood, streets. I'm not sure how that fits, C, fits into whether or not I'm going to give permission to demolish. If a building is up, the fact that it doesn't fit in the character of the neighborhood is not, to me, reason to demolish it. I mean, if it's falling apart, so on and so forth.
But you wouldn't consider that as criteria by itself, right? That would be one piece you would
Yeah.
look at. If so, for example, if I'm trying to think of a good. So in the middle of, there are a couple of buildings. Well, I don't want to talk about a particular house. Let me try to come up with a commercial example in my head. Some in like 15 Main Street at the bottom. Now it's being rehabbed, but in its old design, it was entirely out of the streetscape. And so if you were looking at the overall streetscape and saying, taking down this building might actually enhance the rest of the streetscape because it's so out of place.
So, okay.
But you wouldn't want to make the decision based solely on that, clearly.
Okay, Heidi has a question with D. This is dependent on the previous discussion as to whether or not a future plan is required. So we're back to whether the restoration plan and subsequent plan for the use of the property is adequate to prevent the property from becoming a nuisance or a blight. So this goes back to something we just took out, the future plan. Do we want to leave D in? Or
I
take
wonder who would present something and that would be a blight. This is my plan.
This is my plan. I'm going to make flashing lights, a dance party.
Well, I mean, it's not likely that somebody's going to come in, given the real now. In the 70s, this might have been more of an issue. Now, with Cold Spring as it is and the values, the property values, it's very unlikely for somebody to come in and say, I'm going to demolish this building and I'm not putting anything else back up. This kind of language is intended more for places that are struggling. The real estate market is struggling, and it is a tax benefit for someone to demolish and write off the property as a loss. That's not the scenario here, but that right now, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't be the scenario in the future.
It could be 20, 30 years from now.
Correct. And I think that's why it's important. This is just one opinion, but I think it is important to have a plan so that you don't end up with people demolishing and not putting something back.
Well, it says in the big, I'm sorry,
So-
Marie.
The restoration plan is different from what you're going to do next with the building or the property. The restoration plan says that, in my mind, that you have done everything that needs to be done to cut off all the water supply, you have a rodent plan, whatever you call it, a rodent plan. You don't have open, you're not looking into a basement.
Right, you're leaving a safe space.
Yes, thank you, Kathleen. That I think is part of the restoration plan. The subsequent use is, I think, the what was just being discussed a minute ago. So I would leave the restoration plan there, and I'm if
The subsequent,
yeah,
take out that much.
yeah.
We good, everybody?
And as it turns out, you still have the nuisance or blight.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Okay.
Okay.
That takes care of that.
Okay. I'd like you to back up just a minute, Fran. I know.
Sure.
I know. if you look at 9.
Structure proposed for demolition is looking.
We're talking about,
Right,
and so the question is, the change that was made before,
is not necessary, or may not be necessary.
or the subsequent one is not necessary, but I don't think you need it there twice.
Okay, so what we did was we added in 40-10B for properties in the historic district, refer to chapter 6417, blah, blah, blah. And now we have a number 9. If the structure proposed is located in the village's local or national historic districts. So shall I take this one out, or shall I leave this one in and take the other one out? I can
losing track of where we are. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
We're
back
in-
up to,
From 11, go back up to 9.
Okay.
it
The
says,
unsafe buildings part.
So the question is, we've got reference to the district in 2 places. It seems to me that one reference should suffice.
And
So
the
Kat-
question is 4010
Which do you recommend? Right, Kathleen?
4010B, or the other spot is
4010C9. I like
Give me a
C9
second.
better.
I mean, I think because it comes before it as part of B, intent. Well, actually, no, I think it is appropriate to have it in both places, because one talks about intent, B talks about intent, and C talks about the application. I think it is appropriate to have it in both spots.
Intent for this article is to provide for the orderly process of demolition and to assure proper.
Well, maybe
I
it
don't know
shouldn't
if we-
be, yeah, maybe it shouldn't be in intent.
Yeah,
And
I don't
just
think,
leave it
because
in
the
9.
intent is straightforward.
Yes.
The orderly process, I would
I
take
would
it out
take
of
that out and
intent.
leave it in 9.
And I think 9 is clearer. It goes into
Yeah,
more.
okay.
detail.
I dig that. I'm good.
Okay, so that comes out. Good catch, Marie.
No,
What?
Okay, so
no. It
Dave,
was
your
just, I happened
question
to look.
on 11, are we okay with the fact that we're jumping back and forth? Are we okay with the way it reads now?
If you go back, if you skip ahead on 11 down to the denial process, it just seems like this is not what the village board should be doing. We're not, even we are not versed in it that well, you know. And I
I
think
mean, I agree with you. I mean, and I don't know where else to put it, but what I don't like after 11 is as if we deny the permit, the applicant can appeal back to us. That
Right.
makes
Right.
that
It
makes
makes
zero sense to me.
the only way you should be appealing a village board decision is in Article 78.
Yeah,
Not that I'm recommending that to anyone, but
no, but I agree with you. So we make the first decision, or do somebody else make the first decision and we make the second decision?
Well, the question is who makes the first decision?
but 4011 is talking about operating permits, not demolition anymore.
No, it's
No,
talking
no,
about
it's-
demolition.
Right.
Village shall approve, deny, or approve with the requested permit for demolition.
I see 4011 as operating permit. Oh.
It's not
Got it.
4011. It's,
Yes, I was looking at the next
I'm
section.
sorry, yeah,
Dash 11.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's 4010, number 11, something like that. We're all blurry-eyed.
Yeah.
So the question is, if we change this,
let me do the following. Let me talk to Charlotte about this as well.
Okay.
okay,
And see what in other municipalities happens.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Usually the last stop is the village board for an
Appeal.
right,
for an appeal,
yeah.
and then you would go to Article 78. But usually doesn't start with the
Okay.
board denying and then reviewing again. So I think,
Right, yeah, we can't review our own decision.
well, it would be an appeal, but which happens in
Could.
the other, ZBA and planning, they can come back with an
Yeah.
appeal. So Summary follow-up on that. That'd be
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just changing a couple of things in 40-12, fire safety and property maintenance inspections. A2 for fire safety and property maintenance inspections of all multiple family dwellings not included in paragraph 1 and 2 of this subdivision. So we cut it down to just paragraph 1. And I didn't really follow what does this refer to paragraphs under 40-12, so it doesn't make sense. Okay, so the corrections you made are because it's not paragraph 1, and it's just paragraph 1, am I correct?
Well, paragraph 1 would be A, wouldn't it?
Paragraph 1 of this subdivision, it would be A1, right?
I don't
Fire
know.
and safety, and property maintenance inspections not included in paragraph 1 of this subdivision, and all residential uses not included in paragraph 1 of this subdivision shall be performed within. Okay, so paragraph 1 says fire safety of building and structures which contain an area of public assembly shall be performed once every 12 months, and this says everything else is once every 36 months.
I'm sorry to, I have no idea where you're looking right now.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm
Page
blurry.
40-12.
40-12A.
I'm
Okay,
sorry. I flipped them until I
okay,
find a
and now we're
comment.
talking about item 2 under A, right?
Yes.
Right,
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Let me check with Charlotte on this.
okay. Unless we took something out of there that didn't belong,
Yeah.
or that shouldn't have been taken out. Okay. So that's that, and that pretty much, okay, and then the last thing Heidi has is a formatting problem, which we can fix. Let me see, determination of the code, there exists.
Provide is just hanging out there. In 3. Yeah.
Permission. That actually works in the sentence. Oh, you're not saying remove it. You're just saying fix the layout. Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah. That works.
Good old Heidi.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I don't see anything else. Can we? Nope. Okay.
Page 18. F.
F. Okay. I'm sorry for those who. Let me back up.
So after the definitions, 40-14 parking garages, and then there are definitions, and
Right.
then F.
Condition assessment reports. The responsible professional engineer shall prepare or directly supervise the preparation written report for each condition assessment and shall submit such condition assessment report to the village within 1 month or 2 months or sooner if deemed necessary by the code enforcement officer. I found this weird, and it's probably because I didn't pay that much attention to it. Condition assessments of parking. Oh, okay, we do have parking garages. I'm saying where? Butterfield has a parking garage.
Yeah.
Is that what this is referring to, Marie?
I asked John whether or not we needed to have parking garages in here because it's quite lengthy. And I believe that somebody's scrolling. If you look at parking garage, it's
As defined.
yes, buildings in which the only level used for parking or storage is on grade. That's what we have. An attached or accessory structure, we don't have that. We don't have a townhouse unit with so I said to John, we really don't have this, and he said leave it in anyway. So that's
Well,
why
you could imagine it being developed. You could imagine it being developed like let's say the village sold the parcel where the highway department is. You could, I mean, if someone were to propose a hotel there,
and that was proposed.
Yes, I mean, but you could see someone requesting a parking garage on that location like that, a large lot.
What about the Butterfield parking under the residences? Isn't that considered
It's considered a parking garage.
Right, I mean, and that I can see it being inspected. It's under people's living quarters. If something's wrong down there and the place blows, it wouldn't be
Well,
nice.
I mean, it already has. There's the question of egress from one end of the of 4, 5, 6 to the other, and how long a run it is from egress to egress.
I'm sorry, if I go back to the definition of parking garage, it excludes buildings in which the only level used for parking is on grade, which excludes
Oh,
the third field parking,
okay,
excludes that.
gotcha. So it doesn't
Okay.
matter.
So we don't have any parking garages in the village that qualify.
But we could have a proposal.
So we
So-
could, okay.
Yes, so John's thinking let's do it this second. So the change here is to go from 2 months to 1 month.
And to give the code enforcement officer the ability to
Say sooner, yeah.
say sooner. Okay, so I'm okay with it. Anybody else?
I'm fine with it.
So again, in this chapter, it's referring to sending submitting it to the village.
Where are you at on that, Dave?
Third line on F. And so shall submit such condition assessment report to the village.
Uh-huh.
So if we're discussing, would that be the village board or?
I would say the village
So-
clerk.
Sorry, the word village with the capital letter is throughout this.
Okay,
You picked it up here, but if you look under E2, it's there as well. Let me check with, we're at 4014, Fran?
Yes, and we're at 4014. Oh, this is one of the definitions. 4014, yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, it's
Let
E.
me check with Charlotte on that and see
Okay, so
whether instead it should go to the CEO.
Or the village clerk, if we're just providing a report.
Yeah, if the village becomes aware of any new or increased deterioration, right, that's going to be the Charlotte the person in Charlotte's spot. I haven't
No,
I'd never imagined we would get this far tonight, so I'll admit that I have not read this portion.
Somebody's scrolling.
Okay, we're deleting a space, we're deleting a space. And deleting a space, and deleting a space. Okay, we're 40-15, record keeping.
Yes, this was recommended by
Cool.
Charlotte. It is recommended by Charlotte based upon the New York State Records Retention Regulations.
Conducted by all code enforcement personnel, according records of. Code enforcement shall keep records of all transactions acting according to New York State record retention, including records. Okay, that works fine.
Now,
Any
for
problems?
somewhere in, as I'm looking at it, the rest, it includes, including records of, and then everything else has been deleted.
No, mine shows.
Oh, okay,
I
so,
see it.
so accept it and let's see what happens.
All applications received.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So,
Okay.
so we need to
Uh,
change this from a bold to non-bold.
Right, and I'm gonna go back for a second because there was a question in here. Kathleen asked, why to remove permanent?
Oh, I was wondering why you would say records, but not permanent records.
I'm sorry.
Because they're not permanent. I guess they're kept as long as the state says we have to keep them.
Right.
That would
Under
be my
the
guess.
state records retention policy.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. To unbold. Okay, let me see. Okay, all condition assessment reports received, adding a D, and 4015 8, A8. I'm good.
Good.
I guess I
It
did read this far.
requires-
I don't remember it.
This was like weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, 4016, program review and reporting, the code enforcement officer shall annually submit to the village. Okay, Marie answered that. Was that sufficient, Kathleen? It's monthly is a brief report.
Monthly is very brief.
So this is a separate report that I haven't seen yet because it comes,
Correct.
right, okay, got it. So it's more of it, that's the official record.
Yes, and
Right.
it's broader than what we see once a month.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. 30 days, adding an S, delete a space. Okay, A, replace builder and architect. Oh, we did this up above.
Yep, yep.
Code enforcement officers shall be permitted but not required to cause order of remedy to be served to any person. And that works fine.
And Kathleen's
Certified
question-
mail,
Yeah, Kathleen's comment. I'll check with Charlotte on this because she had, this is 40-15.
Mhm.
uh,
yes, B,
Okay,
A,
yep.
4017, Marie,
Thank you,
4017 A.
Fran. Got it, got it.
Okay. Okay, that's your highlight. Okay, so we're deleting uniform code to be in B, appearance tickets, code enforcement officer and such. Each inspector are authorized to issue appearance tickets for any violation of any local laws, irrespective of whether an order to remedy has been issued. I'm okay with that. Everybody else?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, civil penalties, 250 instead of 200. Why don't all the chapters have this at the end? I don't know.
Free.
Effective date, I don't, some of them did and some of them didn't. I don't know. It depends on how they were written. The effective date at the end.
This is, I believe that this is for new chapters.
Okay.
I
You're right.
believe.
The original
Or-
code was written back in 110 years.
So, but do we need to? Well, I don't know. Never mind. I mean, this isn't a new chapter. It's all new text, but the chapter existed before.
Yeah, it's just, as I said, the previous chapter
Was so
essentially
thin.
said,
Okay.
Hey, Fran, up in 40-17B, Heidi wanted to add a slash in front of no.
I don't. Let me see. 4017B.
You know what?
Oh,
It looks like a mistake.
It looks like I don't have it.
It's the
I do
last,
have-
it's very slim, Fran. It's the very last sentence that starts no action. And
All
it's,
right, I'm
I
looking at
thought
the,
maybe it was something on my screen, but it's,
I'm looking.
it's
look
back-
at page 22, Fran. I think it's an error.
I think it's an
Oh, I
error.
see it. Okay, I see it. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And there's probably 2 spaces there, Fran.
Oh, Dave, don't-
Go away. Maybe that's what you're
That's
trying to
probably
tell
what she was
me.
trying to do. Yeah.
There is 2 spaces. So now I gotta put one back. I'm sorry, I'm old school. It's just such a force of habit to put two
No, I do it
spaces
too,
after a
Fran.
period.
I do it too.
It's like,
Anybody who learned
Okay.
to type on a typewriter does it.
Okay, so this is it for 40.
Yes.
Although, no, I mean, we've got a bunch of
Type question.
But
follow-ups
we
on
got
this.
a lot. We got through a lot tonight.
we went
And
through a lot.
so the next topic is brush, grass, weeds, and trees. And I believe, Dave, you're waiting for a response from John on that, correct?
I have sent him stuff, yes. I have to go back to see what I sent him. It's been so long.
You sent him the simpler
So,
version.
I sent him a shortened
Yeah.
version of it all and haven't had a response.
So the next chapter would be reviewing 134 with particular emphasis on the map.
I think we can, if you want to, begin to look at 126. I sent it to Larry. I'm sure Larry has not had a chance to look at it. And I think I'm comfortable at least getting us started on it.
That would be great.
So it has probably gonna have a lot of comments. 126 is V&T, vehicles and traffic.
Yeah. One of the things about 126, the residential parking permit proposal could potentially change some of the streets in terms of where parking is permitted or not, and whether or not a street remains a one-way street, it remains a two-way street or becomes a one-way street.
How soon do you think that will take effect? I mean, will it be after we push this through and then we can amend this later, or?
I think I'm gonna put words in Dave's mouth. I think he wants to do it sooner rather than later.
The parking, I mean, we could,
Resident permit.
yeah, we can take a look at 126 because I've added a lot of parking restrictions on streets that I know we had problems with this summer. And it may be answers to some of your questions.
Right.
Okay. So we do 126 next.
Okay, so we'll start on
And
126.
the next time we're doing code, today's the 18th.
It's
Yes.
the 18th. Let me see. We're doing
the
police
25th.
Code on the 25th. That's a week from tonight.
Okay.
We're doing police on Tuesday. Kathleen, I know I owe you a statement tonight.
Yep, we can work on that tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So we begin on February 25th with chapter 126. If I can grab Larry and we can sit down for a half hour, I may just run it by him rather than having him try to read through.
Well, we've got
whole
him
that I
now
wrote.
on. We've got him on Google Docs. You could share that chapter with him, but it's easier if he looks at it when he's in the office, because at home he's looking at it on a phone.
Yeah.
But if he knows
It may
ahead of
be-
time that you want him to look at the office, he
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I may just
Okay, folks, it's
grab
after,
him for an
it's
hour.
after 8. It's after 8:30.
Bewitching
We can
hour.
do this.
Bye.
Yes.
Motion
So
to
I make a
adjourn.
motion to,
We all
Okay.
made one. Second.
All in
Okay,
favor?
good night, all.
Aye.
Night. Aye.